Indeed, in the first rabbinic grouping of texts that we have after the time of Jesus in the Mishnah, which dates to around 200 CE, the beginning of a given tractate or chapter called Pirkei Avot says, "Be deliberate in judgment, raise up many disciples, and build a fence around the Torah." So these are important things for a rabbi to do. Be deliberate in judgment, raise up disciples, and build a fence around the Torah. Of course, Jesus does all three of these things, as we see in Matthew 5 and elsewhere in the Sermon on the Mount. In the so-called antitheses, but they're not antithetical to the Torah, Jesus says, you've heard it said, but I say to you. Well, those are fence-building projects from Jesus. Jesus isn't setting aside the Old Testament commandments or anything like that. Jesus is building a fence around those commandments so that no one will break them. So the command remains, thou shalt not murder, for example, and Jesus builds a fence around that. So here we go. You've heard it said, says Jesus, to those of old, you shall not murder. That's Exodus chapter 20. And whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who's angry with his brother or sister will be liable to judgment. So what's Jesus saying? Jesus is not saying that the 10 commandments say, thou shalt not get angry. That's not a new commandment. It's a fence around the original commandment. Jesus' logic goes like this. If you never get angry with your brother or sister, you'll never go as far as to murder them. So the fence around the Torah, think of the Torah as a garden. The garden is thou shalt not murder. The fence is don't get angry. Because if you never cross that fence of anger, you won't go as far as to murder anyone. So, not only do the biblical authors like Jeremiah and Nehemiah do this, but later rabbis do it, and so does Jesus of Nazareth, build fences around the Torah. And who do we have to thank for this Torah building, fence building project? The first woman, Eve.